Hi, my name is Elena Carpin, and I'm here with the Atlantic Council at the Global Decarbonization Accelerator, where we work to convene policymakers, industry executives, and innovators to promote the decarbonization initiative amidst the climate challenge. And I'm thrilled to be here today with Moji Kerini, CEO of Cemvita. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I'll just start out with the first question. Can you lay out Cemvita's initiatives, the current products that you're working on in innovative tech, and what brings you here to COP28?
Happy to. So the vision for Cemvita is based on a bit of a prediction about the future. And it's that within the next decade or two, I think that we're going to have a new category of companies that they produce, fuels, chemicals, minerals, metals, but they do not call themselves an oil and gas or mining or chemical company. Instead, they would be a natural resource company. And the winners in that category, I think, are going to be companies that could produce the same cost and product, but with the lowest environmental and carbon footprint. So for us as Cemvita, we're making a bet on industry of biotech, the tool set of genomics and genetic engineering as one of the enablers for those natural resource companies of the future, one of which we aspire to be. So for the past 7 years, we've been exploring what those applications are. And the main one for us is carbon utilization. We have a pathway from CO2 and carbon waste to precursors of oils that are turned into sustainable aviation fuel. And then we have two divisions, one for biomining, where we use microbes to extract lithium and copper from low-grade ore. And we have a solution for subsurface manufacturing of natural hydrogen using microbes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's a really big portfolio of what you guys are doing. Do you feel like this COP has paid adequate attention to these kind of new generation technologies so far?
Honestly, I think so. It's been really inspiring to see. There's a lot of focus on nature-based solutions, on thinking of the industry as a natural resource industry, not just kind of a mechanical energy transition aspect, which has been the case before. And I think some of the movement in Europe, for different ways of measuring the impact on nature and not just carbon footprint, now is kind of entering the main stage. And there's a lot of conversations about how to create frameworks that is inclusive of carbon footprint as well as environmental footprint. So that's really good to see.
Absolutely. I know yesterday the COP team announced a series of hydrogen initiatives that are aimed at kind of globalizing a hydrogen economy and a hydrogen market. How do you think that's going to play into what you guys are doing? I know you do a lot of stuff specifically with gold hydrogen.
Yes, exactly. So with gold hydrogen, the vision that we had was how could we reinvent the existing infrastructure that exists in upstream oil and gas industry? For example, depleted oil and gas reservoirs, and use those as a way of lowering the capex for hydrogen production. So gold hydrogen, the way it works, we go to those depleted oil and gas reservoirs, we inject a package of microbes and nutrients that basically consume the undercovered hydrocarbon and produce hydrogen. And it's at the cost of less than $1 per kg. So compared to, the spectrum with the green hydrogen and the higher cost, it's a different way of producing a lot of hydrogen at the low cost because we're reinventing basically the existing infrastructure and using something that is a waste. If you think of those undercovered hydrocarbon, not as fossil fuel, but as a subsurface natural feedstock, basically. We're using that to produce the hydrogen. And I think as this catch-22 that we all know about with the producers wanting to know the applications and a lot of people who want to use hydrogen, they're waiting for, a lot of low carbon and cheap hydrogen to unlock those applications. I think we're starting to kind of converge the two within the next few years. So it's going to be really exciting years coming ahead for hydrogen.
Wonderful. You talked a little bit earlier about nature-based solutions, and COP's Nature Day is coming up in a few days. What are you looking to see come out of that day and the negotiations coming out of that?
I think, honestly, we need a bit of a reflection and reset in how we define sustainability. And I think if we see humans as an extension of nature, as another species, that starts to kind of give us a good framework in thinking through every decision that we make. What is the impact for people today and for people of the future and other species that share the Earth with us, but also help think through decisions such as, do we go and save carbon emissions at the cost of, land use and water use and loss of biodiversity, and how to think about those, because now we're starting to get into areas where there is a bit of a conflict. One of those is, for example, how we use feedstocks for sustainable aviation fuel. When we're using animal fat and use cooking oil and soybean oil to make sustainable aviation fuel, those are not things that are scalable or should be, to be honest. I think we should be at the time to be able to produce the same alternative, the same way that we are, for example, with Impossible Meat, right? To not have to rely on animal source for feedstock. We should do the same to kind of reduce our reliance on agriculturally derived biomass as a feedstock. So things like biotech and biomanufacturing and sustainable synthetic biology are some of the technologies that are paving the way and are now at the time in their maturity and cost curve to be able to actually bring them into these new and exciting applications for energy transition and climate change.
Absolutely. Sustainable aviation fuels, I think, are one of the more complicated technologies in the energy transition. I know that you guys just signed an agreement with United to kind of increase the supply of sustainable aviation fuels. What kind of support do you need from private investment and policymakers to increase commercialization of this technology?
Yeah, and you pointed out the complexity of sustainable aviation fuel is because there's just not enough feedstock. With everything that we have today, only 1% of planes run on sustainable aviation fuel. And we have to increase that to much more than that, right? So it means we need a lot more oils, soybean oil and animal fat and used cooking oil. And like I said, we need to create different ways of producing the same oil profile that does not rely on the animals and used cooking oil and soybean oil, right? Now, the partnership with United has been really helpful because it's not just about the offtake agreement, but it's also investing in our company, also connecting us with the network of LPs that they have in their Sustainable Aviation Fund, as well as other investors. I think the short answer is scale up, collaboration around the scale up, because we have to build the plants that produce initially 50 barrels a day and then scale that up to 1,000 barrels a day. And that's how we could ramp up also really the carbon impact of our technology. That commercial scale, for example, would utilize about 250,000 tons of CO2 every year. And when you kind of extend that to the 20-year offtake, that could add up to about more than 15 million tons of CO2 per year. But that just means we just have to build these plants, and we need help from investors and other collaborators, EPC companies, to do that better and faster.
Yeah, no, we're definitely looking forward to seeing how these kind of new gen technologies are implemented across the decarbonization projects. So we are just halfway over COP28. What are you looking to see from the rest of the 2 weeks, and how can we build on this momentum in the new year?
Well, I'd love to see the negotiation that is ongoing with the time that we have left, where we'll land in terms of the commitments, in terms of a lot of the collaboration that are being discussed. And I think, it's interesting that the timing going into the new year, really reflecting on I'll go back to what I said earlier in seeing us as part of nature. And, how could we think of all the companies that are here as natural resource companies, and instead of just a chemical company or oil and gas or mining, and define those frameworks that makes it easy for what technologies we need to support that has the ultimate benefit, not just thinking in isolation about the carbon reduction or in isolation about nature impact, but combine both together. So I'm really looking forward, especially with the nature that coming up, to see if there is new frameworks, new ideas, new commitments being released about that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Live from COP. You can see the rest of the Atlantic Council's engagements at atlanticcouncil.org.